Hi guys, welcome back to Inky Vaper. I'm John, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Velocity V2 by Avid Vaper. This is the latest version of probably one of the most iconic RDAs and innovative RDAs that's hit the vaping scene in the last sort of 18 months or so. I was lucky enough to be able to get hold of one of these just after Vape Jam this year. It was £127, I believe. It's a lot of scratch for a RDA, but a bit of a spoiler. I'm pretty impressed with it. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll nip down to the table, have a quick look at it, go through all the features of the RDA itself, and then we'll come back as normal and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so here we have the packaging that the Velocity V2 comes in. As you can see, it's a plastic tub. This is squeeze the sides below the cap, which we'll do, and that pops it open. On the outside you've got the certificate of ownership, which comes with some instructions and stuff to do with the actual RDA itself. I'll put those to one side. You get the RDA. Now this this originally came inside like a sort of a foam kind of packet that was sealed, which you have to rip to get open. So that's gone in the bin because it was tatty once I'd torn it open, because I was so excited once I got my V2. We've got here a little Ziploc bag, spare O-rings, two different size of Allen keys. One is for the squonk pin, which is not attached on mine, but that has a little removable pin that goes in and out of there. You've got two spare pins as well, and that basically you can put that in your Atty. You can seal it off with that, so you can run it as a dripper, or you can take those out and then use it as a dripper as well. But mine came with a standard 510 as well, so that's what's in there at the minute. Put those to one side. You get like a little keyringy thing with your Velocity, with your serial number on there, V2, and it's got like a little keyring holder, hole in it, and a keyring ring for said thing. Give me that little bit. Okay, pop that back in there. Now we get grub screws. These are there's 3 sets of grub screws. Got 4 in them in the Atty itself, and then which are the hex head screws. Now I've currently got some replacements in mind, because I actually managed to strip one of the hex screws straight away. One of the hex grubs, first build, stripped it. So I swapped them out for the grub screws from the Tsunami, of all things, because they fit exactly, and they're bloody good grub screws. I can't speak to. I've not heard of anybody else having any issues with their grub screws. I'm guessing I got a kind of a bad batch, because one of my grub screws stripped, which will bung in there. There's also like Phillips head screws in there as well, but the Phillips heads are pretty shallow, and I've not found a screwdriver that I've been able to actually tighten those up with, so those weren't much use. Now you also get a set of flat-headed ones, which are in this little bag here. Now this is the issue I've got with these ones, which I'll show you. One of these, so I've got to find it myself first, but if you can see, these are tiny little grub screws, and one of these, yep, there it is, it's that one. I'll pick it up with a pair of tweezers, and hopefully we'll be able to see it on both sides on camera. You can see no slot on that side. I'll turn it the other way up, nothing up my sleeve, and no slot on that side. It's a completely blank grub screw. The others have all got little slots in, as you can see. I don't know how well you can see that, or whether you can see that, but there is a slot in the end of that. I have one of my grub screws which has no slots, so it's neither use nor ornament. So, a bit disappointing on that side of things. However, when I got this through the post, I have to say I was like a little kid before Christmas. I've wanted a Velocity since the V1, and so when the V2 was released and I got the opportunity to order one and get it to me, even though it was just after Vape Jam, I did, and literally 2 days later it was at my door, and I have to say, a bit of a spoiler alert here, I absolutely fucking love it. We've also got a screw-in Delrin 510 adapter, which is really good, fits all your 510 drip tips, so you can put your own drip tips in there. We'll take a look at the RDA in just a second. I'll just put all this packaging back in the tub. I'll pop that in there for the minute, stick that out the way. Right, here we have the Velocity V2, and as you can see, it's a gorgeous looking little bit of kit. The stainless steel on this is just absolutely top notch. You can just tell by when you're holding it, the quality of the stainless steel is just apparent straight away. The brushing is all done by Dino and Cisco, I believe, by hand, and I have to say that the brushing on this is immaculate. It's just beautiful. This came to me with no machine oil whatsoever in it. There was no swarf, no burrs, no muck anywhere. Being the kind of person that I am, I did still stick it in my Sonic to give it a good clean anyway, because that's the way I always do things with any new device, and I suggest that you do that as well. You know, make sure it's clean. Even though with something like this, it's going to be pretty clean right from the get-go, because these guys really do take care of what they're making. Okay, so at the top here we've got a black Delrin drip tip which just screws into the top cap there. These threads are amazingly smooth, and now I'm trying to do it on camera, obviously I can't do it, but it's really easy normally to get the mouthpiece screwed back in, but obviously because I'm on camera, there we go, and it's literally like just 2 turns. Still got a bit of water on it from where I've just given it a clean. Okay, so now what we have here is we have the main body of the RDA. You can see you've got these tiny little indirect airflows around the top of the barrel, and you've got the big sort of mouth type bits as well. Now, to increase your airflow, you just turn your top cap, and as you can see, those little holes open and close as you wish, and at the same time they make the mouthpiece get the mouthpiece. I say it's a mouthpiece because it looks like South Park Canadian. The side slots get bigger as well. If you keep going, it will eventually just completely unscrew. Take the mouthpiece off before we do that, because that has to come out, and off it comes. Now you've got a nice O-ring at the top here that gives it a nice bit of resistance. All these threads on the inside of the top cap are absolutely immaculate. Now, I didn't have, as I said before, I didn't have the V1, but I have used a V1. I was lucky enough to have a go on Dean the Vaping Biker's V1 and was very impressed with it. They've managed to sort of shorten the V2 by about 3mm, I believe, and I think it's just a cracking looking device because of that. Okay, let's just see if we can get out, put it on a mod and take the top cap, or all fingers and thumbs. Stick it on my RX200 a minute, get the top cap off, and screw it. Okay, so this is the bottom section here, and if you notice, you might be able to see just here, just there on the bottom. Ooh, I'm turning it the wrong way. There on the bottom of the barrel on that side, you've got like a little dent, little notch, and there's the same on the build deck on both sides. So you basically, when you're putting this on, you've got two cutouts on the inside of the barrel there. Try to see if you can see them. Yeah, one kind of there and one kind of there. And what you do is, before you had to sort of line it up by eye and try and get it right. Now all you do is get those two dots lined up perfectly, pushed it in, and it's done. It's locked then, and this won't actually turn. So this will allow you to put the airflow on, turn the airflow, no problems at all. Open and close, no worries, because that build deck is actually locked in place. So right, I'll just take that off again. Trusty RX. Okay, let's have a little look at the Velocity build deck. Now this is a Velocity build deck. For once on this channel we have a Velocity build deck, not a Velocity styled build deck. So I'll just see if I can get a bit better focus on there for you. Okay, so as you can see, you've got these hoofing great big holes here on either side. There's 4 on either side. I've got some twisted nichrome in there. You've got your grub screws going the sides here. It's finished off really, really nicely. You've got a nice deep juice well. You've got peak insulators, and you can see there where the positive pin comes up through the bottom of the deck. And obviously, if you had it in squonking mode, that would have a little hole in it. That little circle in the middle there would have the squonk hole, so your juice would come up through that bottom bit here. As it is, I've got it in just normal dripping mode, and basically all you need to do with this is you put your wick, obviously you wick your coils up, and basically you can just, once you've got the RDA all assembled, you basically just splooge as much juice down the mouthpiece as you possibly want. Obviously, you know, you've got to watch out for juice coming out through these little side airflow bits, but you've got tons of space, so you can just really pretty much just chuck a load of juice in there and away you go. As you can see, with it all put together, it's just, in my opinion, one of the most iconic drippers in vaping. It's become an industry standard, I believe. I think that the V2 is just the real deal now. It's a completely finished product, and it just looks really, really nice. Obviously got the airflow way open there, but I generally have it sort of tightened down about there, and I generally, unless I'm feeling a bit cloudy, I generally have the indirect airflow holes closed off altogether. But as you can see, I think you'll agree, that is a beautiful looking RDA. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back up top and we'll talk about it a bit more, and I'll give you my thoughts. See you in a moment. Welcome back, guys. So the Velocity V2 by Avid Vaper. I've got it built with some twisted nichrome 80 coming out at 0.56 of an ohm, running at 60 watts, and it's a lovely vape, really, really flavourful. You can really open it up if you want to and get some really big clouds as well, but at the moment I'm running it as kind of a flavour type of deal at the minute. Now, things to say about this beautiful RDA. As you can tell, I'm already gushing about it. It is absolutely beautifully made, in my opinion. That doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily have some flaws. Now, my one, I can only speak about my one, and my one came, as we spoke of in the up close. I had issues with my grub screws. First build I put in, one of the grub screws just got really, really I don't know what happened to it. I was tightening it up, and then the next thing I know, the Allen key's spinning. So I tried some other Allen keys, And sure enough, I'd kind of stripped it. I had to get a little tiny flathead screwdriver and whip it out. Fortunately for me, I tried the velocity, the grub screws out of the Tsunami, and they fit, and they've not had any issues. Those hardened grub screws from that. In fairness to Avid Vaper, I haven't got in touch with them and asked them about replacing the grub screws or any of that kind of thing. I'm sure, hearing the things that I've heard about their customer service, I'm sure that they wouldn't have an issue with that. The other thing that kind of I was going to go straight over to the flathead grubs, and one of those is missing a slot, so that kind of stymied that idea. I didn't want to have half hex screws and half slotted, so I then tried the little Phillips ones, and the Phillips ones, for my money, they were just, I didn't like them at all. I'm not a big fan of Phillips heads in grub screws anyway, so like I say, we swapped them out for the Tsunami grub screws, and I've not had any issues since. So that's kind of a bit of a downer on it, but even that hasn't dampened my enthusiasm for this device. That's really the only cons I've got for this device. Now, a subjective con, I'm guessing, would be for some people that this is the price. The price is, I believe it's $120 odd out in the States, and in the UK you're looking at about £127. Now, that's a lot of bread for an RDA. But in my opinion, you certainly get what you pay for. This is a hand-finished, machined RDA that was made and machined in the US by two guys. Very small operation. It's one of those things where you if you want something that's fairly exclusive, if you're like me and you don't like purchasing clones and you want to try a Velocity, then you're going to have to bite the bullet and pay out the cash to get one. The V1s are popping up on quite a few of the classified ads now, because people are obviously trying to get hold of the V2s instead, and they're selling their V1s in order to sort of finance them. They're still holding their price. They were kind of around about the same sort of money. They're still holding their price a bit, but you can get them for a lot less than they were originally. I think I've seen them for going around the £80 mark, which is not a bad price really, considering it was originally 127, which is near enough 130. What do I like about this RDA? I love the way that it's constructed. Even with the sort of the grub screw side of things to one side, the actual machining on the RDA itself is just flawless. It's absolutely perfect. There isn't a single burr. There's no sharp edges. Everything is just immaculate. It just the screw on the threading on the top where the airflow is just a joy to use. I find myself just sort of playing with it, because it's so smooth. There's nothing crunchy, nothing scratchy. You get these the cheaper devices, and you sort of putting them together, and you can hear the threads grinding, and you can sort of tell that the metal's not of the best quality. Everything about this RDA just reeks quality. You can sort of tailor it to how you want to vape as well. You can really close it right down and get a very restricted lung hit from it. I'm not sure whether you could get a mouth to lung, to be honest. It's not something that I've tried. I'm not I like mouth to lunging on tanks, but I'm not a mouth to lunger on a dripper, to be honest. And if you open it wide open, you can really sort of chuck some vapor with it. it's a master of it's a master of all, really. It can do pretty much anything you want it to do. With the top airflow, the sort of the indirect airflow slots open, you do lose, in my opinion, you do lose a certain amount of flavour, but not a huge amount. I prefer it with them closed because I prefer a slightly more restricted draw, and I like it. It comes out a bit warmer as well, and I like a warmer vape when it comes to these kind of things. But as you can see, even with the airflow really sort of like half open, with none of the indirect open, it's still giving out bags of vapour, and yeah, I just love it to bits. The proprietary drip tip that screws into the top is just the right size for me. It's great for dripping through, really like it. The threads on it are great. Again, these threads are just great. It's just like 2 turns and you can undo it. The 510 adapter fits in just exactly the same way. Really well made, really good attention to detail on that, and it's just an immaculate piece of engineering, as well as the fact I just think it looks really cool. I think it's just one of the nicest looking RDAs. It's just sleek. There's no fuss. There's no silly logos or deep engravings anywhere or anything like that. It's just very understated and just does exactly what you want it to do. If you're thinking about getting one, if you can get hold of one, by all means do, because you know, if you can afford to get one of these, I thoroughly recommend that you do. It is a really well made RDA, and in my opinion it's worth every single penny. Even with the flaws that I had with mine, with the grub screws, like I say, I've not heard of anybody else who owns one of these that's had the same issues that I had. I guess I'm just lucky that way, but certainly, like I said, I haven't sort of contacted Avid Vapers and seen if they would replace the grub screws, because I sort of corrected the issue on my own, and I'm not really that bothered, to be honest. The screws that I've put in there are working fine, and you know, I'm more than happy with it. So we'll leave this gush fest here. If you've liked the video, please click the like button for me, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications of videos as I'm bringing them out. There's going to be some more drippers on the cards in the next week or so. I've got the Goon RDA now. I've been using that a lot recently. I also just got in the Shuriken by Cthulhu Mods as well, which is another dripper. And I'm off to Vapors Expo in a couple of weeks' time, so you never know what I might pick up there as well. So, you know, please do subscribe and keep an eye out for my videos, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.